Hey, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video. Last week I made a video because Taylor Swift released 4 new songs last week, and I've already reacted to All the Girls You Loved Before, and I did mention in the video that the other 3 tracks were from different albums, but I have listened to Red's Taylor's version on this channel, and 2 of those songs are from the Hunger Games soundtrack, but they kind of got placed on Red's Taylor's version. So I did mention that I wanted to make a video on those 2 songs, so that's what this video is going to be today. We're going to listen to Eyes Open and Safe and Sound, so let's just get started. The first one that we're going to listen to is Eyes Open, and by the titles, neither of them sound super familiar to me. I've definitely seen the Hunger Games movies and know a good bit about them, but the songs kind of don't ring any bells, so maybe as I listen to them I might remember a little bit more. But from what I know, I'm not sure if I know these songs.
Everybody's waiting, everybody's watching, even when you're sleeping. Keep your eyes open.
I really like this production already. It kind of reminds me of 2000s like pop punk or like Three Doors Down, if anyone knows that band.
Tricky thing is yesterday we were just children, playing soldiers, just pretending, dreaming dreams with happy endings. In backyards, winning battles with our wooden swords. But now we've stepped into a cruel world where everybody stands and keeps score. Keep your eyes open.
Okay, before it gets into the actual chorus, let's go back and read that first verse. It says, "The tricky thing is yesterday we used to be just children, playing soldiers and just pretending, dreaming dreams with happy endings, in backyards, winning battles with our wooden swords, and now we stepped into this cruel world where everybody stands and keeps scores. Keep your eyes open." Given that this is from the Hunger Games movie, I'm going to assume that this is about the movie and the characters in that movie. I feel like this kind of captures the feelings of losing your innocence in a way, because the whole plot of the movie is that children are being selected to go to war for their own districts and to fight for literally like food, which is kind of the title of the movie. But it kind of just shows that jarring feeling where they're saying like yesterday our biggest concern was playing outside or hanging out with our friends, and now today we're being shipped off to kill each other in order to keep the people of our cities and towns even alive and have food. So it's kind of a lot of pressure being put onto these actual children. So even though it's not real, I feel like it's going to follow closely to the plot of the movie, I would assume.
Everybody's waiting for you to break down. Everybody's watching to see the fallout. Even when you're sleeping, sleeping. Keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open.
And another thing I kind of think is interesting is everybody's waiting for you to break down and seeing the fallout. It kind of reminds me of the movie again, where the rich people are watching this as if it's their Super Bowl or it's their sporting event. So she's kind of saying they're waiting for me to break down and lose this fight. And then I think it also could be about the competitors in the competition, where she's saying like they are waiting for me to they're waiting for me to sleep. They're waiting for me to not be at my best, because that's when they're going to try to eliminate me.
So here you are, 2 steps ahead and staying on guard. Every lesson forms a new scar. They never thought you'd make it this far. But turn around, oh, they've surrounded you, it's a showdown. And nobody comes to save you now. But you got something they don't, yeah, you got something they don't. You just gotta keep your eyes open.
Even though we know it's about the Hunger Games, I feel like this also could be a song that you could apply to your own life in a way of like betrayal and proving others wrong. Because in that second verse it said, "So here you are, 2 steps ahead, staying on guard. Every lesson forms a new scar." So in my head, it's kind of like proving those people wrong and saying that, and I've learned from my mistakes and my scars, and I'm not going to let that and I'm not going to let the past define me. I'm going to go out and brave this new world with my eyes open and kind of tackle whatever situation comes at me. So I know that's not exactly it, but I feel like this also could be applied to something like that as well.
Everybody's waiting for you to break down. Everybody's watching to see the fallout. Even when you're sleeping, keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes.
I didn't mention it in the last verse, but in that second verse it also said, but you got something they don't. I feel like they're talking about courage, but I also remembered that people got sponsored in the Hunger Games by the rich people. They would send certain people resources. So I wonder if that's also like a tie-in as well.
Eyes open. Keep your eyes, keep your feet ready, heartbeat steady. Keep your eyes open, keep your aim locked. The night goes dark. Keep your
Such a Katniss Arrow reference.
eyes Everybody's waiting for you to break down. Everybody's watching to see the fallout. Even when you're sleeping, keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open.
Alright, so that was the end of Eyes Open, Taylor's version. I definitely enjoyed this song, and I've been seeing a bunch of TikToks actually because the Hunger Games just got put on Netflix, and that has been slowly convincing me to maybe like rewatch the movies because I haven't seen them probably since some of them came out in the movie theaters. And now with this perspective of this song, I feel like it adds a lot to the story of the movie as well. So now I'm like slowly being convinced to go watch these again. But I did mention at the beginning of the video that I was going to wait to see if these songs sounded familiar, and this one didn't. But it looks like the other one got a music video, so maybe that will be the one that was more popular and I'll remember that one. So let's just get into Safe and Sound. This is completely irrelevant, but this guitar reminds me of the strums that happen in The Last of Us. I played the video game, but I know there's also an HBO Max show about that right now. So if you watch that TV show or if you've played the game, does that sound like that or am I crazy?
I remember tears streaming down your face when I said I'll never let you go. When all those shadows almost killed your light. I remember you said don't leave me here alone. But all that's dead and gone and past tonight.
Okay, so it's so interesting going to these songs with the perspective that you have a decade later, and I feel like this is such a folklore sounding song, even down to like her being in the woods and in that kind of outfit. So I know she didn't have that plan that far in advance, but it's kind of crazy to see like this might have been a pivotal moment in her deciding into going into that style of music. But in regards to the first verse, it says, I remember tears streaming down your face when I said I'll never let you go. When all the shadows almost killed your light, I remember you said, don't leave me here alone, but that's all dead and gone and past tonight. That kind of makes me think of Katniss kind of telling her family that she's leaving because she's like crying and saying, I'll never let you go. And that's maybe like the idea of leaving her family and maybe possibly never coming back. But then I also kind of think that it's like the end of the Hunger Games because when they say when all the shadows almost killed your light, I feel like that's a feeling that you would have after going through the event, because you've killed your peers and you've just gone through such a traumatic thing. And I feel like that would be a definite scenario of you like losing the light inside of yourself to the demons or to the shadows or whatever you want to say. But I definitely think it's centered around the idea of her having to go compete in the Hunger Games.
Just close
Okay, by the way, I've heard this now. This one does sound familiar.
The sun is going down, you'll be alright. No one can hurt you now. Come morning light, you and I'll be safe and sound.
Man, that is so haunting to hear. But that chorus said, just close your eyes, the sun is going down, you'll be alright, no one can hurt you now. Come morning light, you and I'll be safe and sound. I feel like that's almost like holding on to the hope that you should have, because it's almost a little bit naive to think that you will be safe and sound after going to an event like this. But I feel like that's definitely a feeling that you have to go into it in order to keep like your sanity, because if you're going in there with absolutely no hope, then you're going to give up or not make it through very far, obviously. So I think that's a very haunting thing to think about, of like that's your last ditch effort and survival.
Don't you dare look out your window, darling, everything's on fire. The war outside our door keeps raging on. Hold on to this lullaby, even when the music's gone.
Okay, wait, that also makes me think of another thing, because the lyrics of that just said, don't you dare look out your window, everything's on fire, the war outside keeps raging on, hold on to this lullaby even when the music's gone. That reminds me of the part of the movie where there's a tribute, it's a young girl and I can't remember her name, she was actually a big part of the movie, but she passes away and that's kind of like the start of the whole revolution. But it kind of reminds me of that, because I know Katniss does sing her a song as she's like passing away. So it's almost like trying to reiterate to this little girl that's dying and saying like, everything's fine, like I know you see everything around you, but you're going to a better place, and kind of just like giving that person the closure in that moment. And that sounds as awful as it is, but it kind of makes me think of that. Or in a more literal sense, don't look out your window, that kind of makes me think also of her family that she's leaving behind, and it's saying that she's going to fight for their district, but I'm sure being in the district is no walk in the park either. They're probably going through a war zone, because I know like all of them were at war. So I feel like that could be about either her little sister or like her Hunger Games little sister person, which I can't remember her name. I don't know why. I know if someone says it, it's going to be so obvious, but I can't remember it.
Gone. Just close your eyes. The sun is going down. You'll be alright. No one can hurt you now. Come morning light, you and I'll be safe and sound.
Wow, this is so haunting. I've said it already once, but it's so haunting. And I feel like I'm usually a person that loves the Taylor Swift bridge, and don't get me wrong, I do. And I feel like any other song, I'd probably be like, where's the bridge? Give us something a little bit more. But I feel like given the context of the song and how haunting it really is, I feel like this works. Like just these like echoing noises kind of like serves as the perfect bridge for this.
Just close your eyes. You'll be alright.
You could also tell me that this was recorded 2 weeks ago and I'd believe it. Taylor Swift genuinely doesn't age.
Come morning light, you and I'll be safe and sound.
Alright, so that was the end of Safe and Sound. I feel like these two songs perfectly encapsulated this feeling of these movies, because the first song, Eyes Open, I kind of mentioned already. It's almost like the initial feeling of finding out that you're going into the Hunger Games. It's like losing your innocence, but like staying on guard and thinking about like almost like strategy and what do I need to do to keep myself alive. And then this song is almost like after the denial sets in and like the actual haunting feeling starts happening, where you're like, am I going to survive? I need to hold on to this hope that I will, and that's what's going to keep me going in the end. Because Safe and Sound reminds me a little bit of like how maybe actual people who go off to real wars kind of feel, because I feel like a lot of the time people hold on to the hope that they're going to return to their loved ones one day, or even their country overall. It just kind of is that feeling that keeps people going when they're at their lowest moments. So I feel like it kind of just gives you a full circle idea of like the movies and the plots. But I genuinely enjoyed both of these songs. I think Safe and Sound was absolutely amazing, and I can't believe that I haven't really heard much of these songs before. I've heard Safe and Sound a little bit, but I never like paid enough attention to it, so definitely feel like I should have this whole time. But as I said earlier in the video, I think I have been fully convinced to go enter a Hunger Games era, as people say, and go rewatch all of those movies. Recently, I've actually been thinking about how one day it would be cool to have a channel just to kind of do movies and TV shows and stuff like that. So maybe one day, if I ever get to that point, it'll probably be a long time from now, but maybe we'll get to the point one day where I'll be watching movies with you guys on this channel or something. So, but until then, thank you for watching, and let me know if there's any perspective on the songs that you know about the movies or the connection to it and overall. But again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.